We can wait for 2 minutes and then we can start, I think.
Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to today's webinar titled Publishing a Research Paper from Concept to Dissemination. I am Ravi Kumar Mishra. I'll be your moderator for this webinar. I'm currently a PhD student at Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Dhanbad, India. I have completed my MTech in Hydraulic Engineering from IIT Roorkee. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. Even though there was some technical glitch, I am really sorry for that. But thank you for coping with us and joining this webinar. Whether you are an early career researcher, a student aspiring to publish your first paper, or an experienced academic looking for to refine your approach, this webinar has something for you. This event is proudly organized by Institute for Integrated Hydro Environment Research, IIHR, a platform dedicated to advancing research and collaboration in hydraulics, water resources, and allied fields. We are also grateful for the support of our esteemed partner institutions, which are Tribhuvan University Institute of Engineering, Pulchok Campus, Tribhuvan University Institute of Engineering, Thapathali Campus, and Dynamic Solutions Private Limited. Their commitment to fostering academic excellence and interdisciplinary collaboration has been instrumental in making this event possible. Publishing a research paper is both an art and science. It requires clarity of thought, rigorous methodology, and effective communication. Our esteemed speakers today are all accomplished researchers pursuing their PhDs at some of the world's leading institutions. They have navigated the journey of academic publishing and will share their insights, challenges, and strategies to help you succeed in yours. Let me now introduce our speakers for this session. First speaker would be Mr. Ishwar Joshi. He is a PhD student specializing in river science at Utah State University in United States. Mr. Joshi also holds a master's in water conservancy and hydropower engineering from Hohai University, China. His experience and perspective on conceptualizing a research paper will provide valuable insights into developing impactful publication. Our next speaker will be Mr. Rakesh Kumar Chaudhary. He is also a PhD student at Utah State University in the United States, specializing in hydraulics. Mr. Chaudhary completed his MTech in Water Resources Development from IIT Roorkee, India. His strong foundation in engineering research equips him to share practical guidance for structuring and presenting research papers. We also have Mr. Khem Prasad Bhattrai with us, who is currently pursuing a PhD in hydraulics at Colorado State University in the United States. Mr. Bhattrai also holds an MSc in Water Conservancy and Hydropower Engineering from Hohai University, China. His experience in computational and experimental research equips him to share effective strategies for publishing high quality research. And finally, we have with us Mr. Naresh Shual, who is also a PhD student specializing in hydrology at Louisiana State University in the States. Mr. Sual earned his MSc in Water Conservancy and Hydropower Engineering from Hawaii University, China. His experience in publishing reputed peer reviewed journals will be instrumental in navigating journal selection and peer review process. We are fortunate to have such a distinguished panel of speakers with us today. Each will share their unique perspective on research publishing process, followed by a Q&A session where you can engage directly with them. Before we begin, I encourage you to make the most of this opportunity by taking notes and asking questions in the chat. With that, let's get started. Our first speaker is Mr. Ishwar Joshi. Mr. Joshi, uh, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Robbie. Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
all hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ravi, for a nice introduction. So we are really sorry for the technical glitch due to Zoom services. So I'd like to share my screen first. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, is everything okay in terms of technical aspects?
Yeah, everything is perfect.
Okay, yeah,
You
thank you
can
very
continue.
much for a nice introduction. So as a first part of this talk on publishing a research paper from concept to dissemination. So my part goes in conceptualization of research, and then how we do literature review and find research gaps. Mm. So it's kind of a big beginning of how we start the research, and in other parts, part two, part three, and part four, other friends will talk detail on that. So in terms of research conceptualization, I like to share more as an experience, okay, not as kind of what there is already in internet or something like that. This is kind of my own experience during my PhD proposal, or you can say like an outcome of my PhD proposal. So that I would like to share in this. So if you see. Conceptualization, it has kind of it means to develop a clear research gap so that increases your knowledge or increases knowledge in scientific arena, and that is defendable also. So it means like whatever research gap you find in research that should like enhance the knowledge in scientific arena, and that should be defendable. You create a knowledge, so but other will like not follow that, or you cannot have more confidence in your knowledge, then that's not a kind of clear research gap. So in this case, like I like to give like a series. So how I created a research gap in my own research. So my kind of conceptualized topic was flood study. Okay. Then how I like dig into literature, and then how I find a certain research gap, that is kind of how to deal uncertainties in flood, or like has this topic been like studied very well. So I like to take this in that direction. So after you kind of finalize your topic, so not finalize your topic, but you get a topic from your supervisor or anybody, so you have to kind of uh, in literature review, you need to read articles, okay, or newspapers or something like that. So, but is it actually easy to read literature? Like the webinar that we have conducted is for all of the like participants at various level, like bachelors of engineering, masters of engineering, and then also like PhD in engineering. So, is it really easy to read literature? And so, if it is easy, like how to start? Okay. So for the topic of flood, so I just typed flood in Google research, Google Scholar, and I found that like there are kind of 4.75 million articles related to flood only in Google Scholars. So they are like disseminated all over the journals and publications. So we have like 4.75 million of those. So as a like novice engineer, so as a novice researcher, so how shall you start a literature review? Okay, that's very kind of challenging. So in that, like what I like is from my experience. So I will say that kind of like try to follow the top researcher in your field. Okay, so how you get the top researcher in your field? You just kind of read like 50 to 60 papers, like the state of the art paper on that field. Okay. So you will generally then have a clear idea that in the introduction section, generally these kind of top researchers, they are highly highlighted. They are mostly cited in these papers. So I say to you, like from my experience, that read 50 to 60 papers, and then you will have kind of tentative idea who are like leaders in the research field.
Yes.
Okay, so you can verify that also from like Google citations, Google Scholar citations, or like awards they have. Okay, so here I like show two examples of those researchers who have been highly cited in flood research. Like they have been kind of cited for of almost 50,000 or something like that. Okay. So then what you do is you get a state of the art review paper from them. Okay. Is they will like direct that to find the research gap. Get the state of the art review from them, and generally they provide research gaps and future directions in those review papers. Okay. So like this is very important, finding like top researcher. Top researcher is not that they are very good, but they are mostly cited or something like that. And then get the research gaps and future directions from them. So it's kind of like old person showing you a way to how to start a research and how to find the research gap. It's a very challenging job actually. Finding a research gap, you need a lot of hit and trial. So I followed this path. I think it kind of worked, though kind of my objectives were not 100% correct, but they worked fine. So here I saw an example. Okay, so this researcher, he published a review paper on flood inundation prediction in annual review of fluid mechanics. Is Paul Debates from UK. Okay, and then from that review paper, he published a word view on that, kind of 2 page of word view. And in the highlighted section in the yellow part here, you can see that what he writes in the paper is, but overconfidence in the precision of inundation models at the scale of individual assets with no consideration of uncertainties involved is clearly misplaced. It means the researcher is kind of focusing on So why models should consider uncertainties in them. So he have he have been cited a lot of time. He is the top class researcher in his field. So he said that it means he is saying that from huge amount of knowledge with him. So I try to follow these try to follow this sentence and get kind of research gap from there. So one of the research gap here could be with no consideration of uncertainties, there are like challenges with flood modeling. So I can just take this point and then start doing further more literature review or other thing. Then this is another researcher. He's also a top class researcher in flood modeling. He says in his review paper is like quantifying and reducing uncertainties will consequently quantifying and reducing uncertainty will consequently continue to be a research need and emphasis. So a top researcher is saying that because it's from a huge knowledge. So he said that okay, there are uncertainties in flood modeling, so we should uh, uh, look look to that directions. Okay, and then I read in the news, and this is a screenshot from a newspaper video, and this is like this kind of river here, and this is the yellow mark here in the river is so the 100-year flood inundation um, prepared by a model, okay, by a numerical model. And this dot shows the where actually the flood was, okay. So I didn't have the kind of scale here, but the dot is almost like 300 to 400 meter away from the river, okay, where actually um, flood like past than the predicted one by the model. So it means like there are huge uncertainties in flood modeling, and then like we should follow or this can be a kind of research gap in uncertain in flood modeling. So I took in that direction. I and kind of made my PhD proposal based on this. Like so, I'm working on uncertainties in flood modeling now. So and that's last like should we blindly follow gaps in literature? So whatever we like get in the literature, should it like directly follow that? Maybe not because it is also dependent on the amount of fund you have, like as a researcher or as a collaborator. So it's also dependent on that. So I will like from my perspective, it's kind of like an opinion. I will say that then whenever you find the research gaps, so then discuss it with your research supervisor to get clear research objective and clear research questions. So that is very important. So it's kind of finding research gap is kind of hit and trial process. It's not like you get all thing at once. Okay, very like discuss with your supervisor on that. Yeah, that's all from my part. So next part will be from Rakesh Kumar Chaudhary. So after you have research questions and research objectives, so you need to execute that research and then you need to disseminate that knowledge to other researchers all over the world. So for that you need to have publication, research publication. So Mr. Rakesh Kumar Chaudhary will talk more on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishwar sir. That was very insightful presentation on the entire conceptualization of research, starting from the literature review up till the point of finding the research gap and conceptualizing the entire research. From here on, we will move on to the our next speaker, Mr. Rakesh Kumar Chaudhary. He will be now talking about how to put your paper into proper structure and what are the necessary items required for a research paper. So, Rakesh sir, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Ravi.
Let me share my screen. I think is it visible?
Yes, it is perfectly visible.
So let's now I will start my portion. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank the organizing team. It's my honor to be here to discuss about the preparation of manuscript for publication. So I think Mr. Joshi has already explained about how to find out the research gaps and how to proceed with the research. Yeah. So today I will going to cover the following contents. Research background motivation has already been discussed by the Mr. Joshi, and I think he has already talked about the research gaps and during the research gaps and during the research works, I think we should have to finalize the author list or collaborating partners so that there will be no any misunderstanding during the writing of the research papers. My contents research paper basically consist of the abstract, introduction, materials and methods, results and analysis, discussion and conclusion, and the last one is the reference. So I will talk about the abstract from 4 to 10 because 1 to 3 portion is I think uh, before beginning the writing portion of the research paper, I think you should have to finalize these sections, research gaps, author collaborators, and I think you should be able to find out the result of your research. Then you should begin to writing process. So abstract is the I think the main portion from which we can start the writing. So we can summarize this portion abstract introduction material as a IMRADC. Now draft author list and collaborators. I think author list and collaborating partners are decided based on their experience, their scientific contributions. Suppose for a particular research, suppose someone is doing research on the piano keyware or something on different wears. So what kinds of collaborating partners has experience? You should be able to decide, and then you can collaborate with them so that you can get a good benefit, good insight from these partners. Similarly, I would like to who will be the first author. The first author generally has a major role in the writing process, writing as well as in the research. So first author does the major part of research. Similarly, the last author or the second, third author as the supervisor or advisors who has sponsored you. A paper is better than the no paper, but first author is always best. I would like to say, and the first author may be sometimes corresponding author or may not be the corresponding author. Maybe the corresponding author may be the your supervisor. The role of the corresponding author is that the corresponding author used he will submit or he or she will submit your paper. He will get the feedback from the editor, so he has a direct contact with the journal's editors. Now I would like to move to the research paper title. Before beginning your research paper drafting, you should be you should have a concise idea of what should be the title of your research paper. It should be the title should be very much clear and specific. It should cover your content of your research. I think it should reflect the core focus of your research. You should use the descriptive keywords so that it could cover the main portion of your research. It should be already visible to or it's reachable to all the scientific community. Keep it concise. Don't make it too much lengthy. Your title, so that I think it should be
Yes, yes.
yes. Similarly, you should try to highlight the methodology. Suppose a particular methodology is very much important for your research. So, so it is better to highlight the methodology in your research paper title. Yeah. Similarly, you can indicate your scope or study area in the title portion. And I think as far as possible, you should avoid the technical avoid acronyms or technical jargons, which is not very familiar with scientific community. That may lead to some other problems. Similarly, incorporate impact or innovation. For example, suppose your research paper output is something very much important for a practical point of view, then you should incorporate that innovation in your title. Here we have collected some of the examples of the research paper titles. You can see here, for example, I have chosen, we have collected our own papers. One title is Scour Downstream of a Corrugated Apron Under Wall Jets. Yeah. Scour is an important, I think, keywords because most of our research is based on the scour. Similarly, the scour is happening downstream of apron. So we have used that words, and it is we are doing experiments under submerged wall jets. That is a flow condition. So we have mentioned that words so that it will be very much reachable to all the scientific community. So this is the similarly you can see the other examples: hydraulic performance analysis of piano keyboards with curvilinear keys, or numerical and experimental study. Here, our numerical and experimental study is the methodology part, which we have included in our title. I will briefly discuss about some examples. I will don't because we have limited times. Similarly, we can see the spatial prioritization of groundwater resources in mountain region of Nepal. Here, the spatial prioritization was our main findings, main objective, and a GIS and ASP integrated framework was our, the main methodology portion. Yeah, and the water resources in mountain region of Nepal, it is our study area. So we have included this to make the title of the paper. Similarly, you can see the three-dimensional modeling of hydrodynamic characteristics of mining affected alluvial channel using this Telemac and GIA. The Telemac and GIA, we have used these tools to model the hydromorphodynamic characteristics of minings. So in this way, we can formulate, we can prepare our titles. Similarly, you can see the numerical modeling and hydraulic optimization of source tanks using the particle swarm optimization. That is the techniques for hydraulic optimization. So now I would like to move to the next part, that is the abstract part. So abstract part is basically consists of 5 to 6 portion. The first one is the importance. The second, research gap. Third, objective. Fourth, methodology. Five, key findings, and six is the implication. So this abstract is generally the summary of your whole paper, and in the first starting few lines, you have to discuss about the importance of your research. Suppose you are doing research on the something like wear or flaws on any structural components or any geotechs maybe. So what is your the importance of that research in a global scenario? So you have to mention that portion in the few lines of starting of the abstract. Then after that, you have to mention the research gaps. For example, you can see here, though we have mentioned the importance, you can see that while various studies have been conducted in the past to investigate the influence of geometric parameters of PKW, there is a lack of information. Yeah, there is a lack of information regarding the effect of nonlinear slope. So we have mentioned the research gap here clearly. Then after that, we have formulated that research gap as our objective of research. So we have written clearly the objective of research. After objectives, you have to how you carried out your research. Then which methodology have you used in your research? You have to mention that after the objective. And after methodology, you will get the result. So we have to write the key findings of your results. So in the last, we have written the key findings of our research. And the next thing is that if there is any implications or application of your results, then you can also write your application part in the abstract. So, and the length of the abstract portion is generally not more than 250 words. Most of the journals, you will find that they have criteria that your abstract should not be more than the 250 words, or it may be less than, but not exceeding that. So now I would like to move to the next portion of the paper. That is the one more thing is the important is that regarding language and sentences, how which language we have to use and what would be the your flow of your sentence. First, I think I would like to say that your language should be very much precise and clear. It should not be very much complex so that their meaning will be different than what you are trying to say. So avoid overly complex sentence and jargon unless necessary. Similarly, define technical terms when first introduced. For example, you have done your research using the SWOT tools. So you have to suppose you are writing SWOT, SWAT. So you have to write its full meanings, full form in the first. For example, for SWOT, soil water assessment tools, you have to write. So acronym define technical terms when you use first. Similarly, prefer specific straightforward words over vague, flowery expressions. And the next one thing is that what you are writing, your writing should maintain the logical flow. What comes first? What should come first? What should come in the second? You have to maintain the logical flow of the sentence. Similarly, you can use the connecting words like phrases. However, therefore, in contrast, as a result, to guide the readers, focus and always try to focus on readability. And I would like to suggest you that better you should use the active voice when appropriate, as it makes sentence clear and more direct. And avoid redundancy, and also avoid the repetition of ideas or sentences. You should be able to don't repeat your sentences in your papers, or repetition of ideas. And introduction part is generally its length is 3 to 5 paragraphs. It should not be more than the 3 to 5 paragraph. So so first you should begin by presenting a broad overview of the research, first paragraph, because suppose you are doing research on a particular topics, and someone is doing research on the floods, or someone or any structural or any any topics. So you have to state that importance of that topics in your first paragraph, and then you should move ahead by discussing the literature review portion. In a Similarly, highlight the relevance of the field or topics in the current scientific, that is the first paragraph portion. Use statistics, recent developments, or global challenges underlying it. Now you should narrow the discussion to your specific area of study. You are in first paragraph you are discussing your research importance as in a global perspectives. Now you have to narrow down your discussion to your particular area of study, and then discuss the research work done by the previous authors in a sequence. That is the first who done this particular research in the first, and then what other researchers has done after that. You have to maintain this logic, the flow in a sequence, and then you have to narrowing down it to your own research. So, and after that, in the last paragraph, you have to mention the research gap clearly, and then you have to write your objective very much clearly, so that because the I think the last paragraph of the introduction is very much very important, because everyone generally used to read the last paragraph of introduction. What is his objective is you get clear from that portion. For example, I have included a example of our own papers. You can see here this is our last paragraph. Before that paragraph, there is another paragraph where we have discussed about the previous findings, and then gradually we move to the research gap portion. Here you can see here, in order to gain a deeper insight into the impact of curvilinear shapes on the hydraulic performance of disseminators, it is essential to conduct the further test. Since previous author has done this works on only one model study, yeah, but to generalize this study, we have to conduct this study on a number of models. That is the research gap. And finally, we made that gaps as our objective of research. In the last paragraph, we have clearly mentioned our objectives. So in this way, introduction portion is finalized, I think. Yeah. If you have any questions regarding this, you can message or you can email us. We are very much kindful to help you regarding the writing of the papers. Yeah. Similarly, I would like to add some tips regarding these portions. It covers 5 to 6 paragraphs, rarely more than the 2 pages, and every sentence or a few sentences should eventually be backed by a reference. Whatever you're writing, whatever you are stating, that someone has find this, you have to mention, you have to cite them in your paper. Similarly, I think generally the most of the research paper consists of 20 to 30 side references, but I think it may exceed 30, 40, 50. However, you will find that in most of the review papers, there are more than 50 references. And the last paragraph should summarize the rest of your paper, which we have already discussed. Now, the next section is materials and methods. After introduction, there is a next part, that is the materials and methods. Or in materials, basically materials consist of what are the data which you require to carry out the research. So basically, data are our materials. You can see data collection and types of data, that is the types of variables. What are the process of collection? Everything about data. It may be the field data, satellite imagery, experimental setup description, process of measurement, estimated details, and data accuracy and limitation. And one thing you should remember, that you have to write your limitation of the data in the material section. Acknowledge the scope of the data. For example, here I have included and I have shown you an example here, showing you example of the data material sections. In material sections, we have subtopics, data, and sources. So here we have discussed about the study used the primary and secondary data obtained from several sources. We have also mentioned the sources of data and what types of data we are using for this particular study. So you can see here, we have used the DEM from the SRTM sources. Similarly, we have used the USGS this source for the SRTM DM, and then we have DEM was further processed using GIS. Yeah, these things. And similarly, we get the soil and terrain. I mean the particular data of soils from the EC mode website. Yeah, and similarly, we got the hydrological data from the DSM. So you have to discuss all the things in the material sections. Yeah. Now I would like to move to the next part, methods. Generally, materials and methods came together, but I would like to separately discuss each one. Now, the next part is the methods. Methods section is very much important. This is a very core part of your research, because it is that part which helps you to get your result. Whatever your data you are using, that the data will be, I think, I think I would like to say that it is a machine part. Data is your input, and if and you will put that in that machine, you will get the result. Yeah. So it basically consists of how the study was done. I mean, the methods may be quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods, but in engineering, we are very much interested in the quantitative, in the numbers. So we will mostly use the quantitative methods here. So it consists of which techniques, system, procedures have been used to get the results. Similarly, it should be supported by adding details, flow chart, experimental set of figures, whatever you instruments or tools you have used, you have to mention in the methods portions. Yeah. And similarly, I think discuss is part of the method used for this research with reference to be cited. For example, generally the most of the us we use experimental study, either it in different field of research and numerical or mathematical modelings. So which methods we are using, it depends upon your funding also. For example, suppose you are carrying out your experimental study. So suppose then it is clear that you have a sufficient fund to carry out the experimental study, because experimental study is very much costly. So if you do not have option to carry out the experimental study, you can go through the second option, numerical or mathematical modeling. In this option, you have to use the particular software, and you have to make your models. Then you have to apply the physics of that models, and you have to run that models, and you will get the finally your results. Then you can, and also you can carry out the analytical study based on your, suppose you have a good sounding of mathematics or different, different techniques of mathematics, then you can use the analytical methods. Similarly, nowadays ANN or deep learning is very much famous to carry out the research. And I think numerical, analytical, artificial, these are the secondary. Its results should be verified with the experimental study after that. So here we have all. I think I covered all the portion of the methods, and now I would like to share something about the methods. You can see here someone using measurements, field measurements at the sites for the data collection. So it is also part of the method. Similarly, you may use experiment in the lab. So you have to prepare a good schematic figure of your experimental setups, and you have to present that. I mean, you have to put that layout of that setup in your research paper. And you can see here the experimental setup clearly explains everything about your. The methods how you'll begin your research, different parts of the section you can see here. Similarly, I have, apart from the experimental works, I have also included one flow chart of our research, which was based on our just the data collection of the different sites or different sources. And then after that, you can see here, first we carried out a literature review. For example, information collection, detailed study, schedule, section of influential indicators. Then after that, we have prepared different maps using the tools like as the remote sense, using the tools GIS. So we have prepared these maps here. And then after that, we use the methodology ASP, analytical hierarchy process for the prioritization of groundwater. So what steps we have followed, we have discussed all in details here in the ASP techniques. Yeah, in portion. Then our final outcomes is the groundwater potential zone mapping. So you have to. I think it is better to include flow chart in your paper also, I think. So now I would like to move to the next section. That is the result section. After methodology, I think in methodology section you have carried out the experimental works, or you have carried out some using different tools, like as the software, like as the Hackrass or different tools, and now you get the result like as the now what should you write in the result section? Yeah, it should be very much clear. Use figures and plots to present your data and support is with graphs.
उठेपछि कस्तो आवाज आएको म त एकछिनलाई
So in result section, basically from experiments you get the data. After analysis you get the figures and plots. So you should present your figure and plots to present your data. Support is with paragraph. Whatever you are presenting your result, it should be backed by something, discussion or paragraph. If you don't have results yet, at least think about what you expect your results to be and what figures you need to present them. Similarly, try your best to present your experiments in the same order they appear in the method section, rearrange as necessary. And I would like to say that organize your plots in the sequential order, which we have discussed in the methodology. And it should have a good legends, everything. So I think I would like to say I will also share the examples of the plots, how the plots should be. And one thing is very much important, that do not state your result directly. The key is to soften your absolute claims. It should be scientifically sound, credible, and free from overgeneralization. Because whatever your result you are getting is it is a result for that particular range of experimental data, or for 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 that particular range of data. It is not you cannot overgeneralize your result. Yeah, if you are trying to overgeneralize your result, you may get your paper may get rejected. Yeah. So the next I'm so the I would like to show you the example of the figures. What we have to follow in the figures, what are the criteria. So do as much of the figure works. Basically, I would like to suggest you that Python, or the matplotlib of the Python, is very much famous. The very much good for the vector graphics. The for the figures, you can use Inkscape or Photoshop, because you can maintain the DPI of your figures. You can vary using these softwares, and it has a good quality of the graphics, good quality of the you can produce good quality of figures using these kinds of softwares. Or I think suppose you are following particular journals. Their journals has a criteria of the figures. Yeah, you can use that criteria to make your figure. Yeah. Similarly, what should be the figure size? Yeah, the figure length. I think the height of the figure, or it should not be very much high. The aspect ratio, I have mentioned the aspect ratio of the figures. R is equals to 1, 1.414, 1.618. It should be in this order. You can see on the right side. Instead of that, your figure aspect ratio should be like as what we have shown here. And if the nature of the data suggests the shape of the graphic, follow the suggestion. Yeah. Suppose your data is too much, your nature of the result is showing that the figure size should be like as this much, then you have to follow that suggestion. Here are a few examples of the figures. Simple graphics can be small and still convey all of the information. So your figure should be in a such a way that you could convey all of the information. Yeah, you can see the types of figure. Yeah, it is very much clear and concise. It is showing all the information very much clearly. You can on the right side you can see here the different figures, and in the figure also there is a one figure also. Yeah, so the writer has tried to use that space to convey as much information as possible through figure. Yeah. Now I would like to move to the next part, that is the discussion part. After result, we have a discussion part. So in discussion part, what we will discuss here. So mostly in the discussion part, whatever the result you get in the result section, you have to discuss here in the more scientific way, and it should be backed by the fundamental principle of the science here. So revisit its result and explain its meaning in a way that narratively builds to meaningful conclusion. Similarly, you may also add other observations that are less rigorously backed by data. For example, you did research on a particular topics, and you get some graphs or data, and which is similar to the other previous authors. So you can also cite them. Yeah, you can also compare the previous author results. Yeah, so that your result is and what is the difference between the previous and your result? You have to discuss it here clearly. You may also compare against specific studies in the literature. Here I have shown you some examples. For example, suppose you did experiment on the discharge characteristic. The discharge or something like, and someone author has already done that, and what you get different from there, you have to discuss in the discussion portion, and it should be backed by your the fundamental principles of science, fundamental physics. You have to discuss it in a very clear way. Now the last part is the conclusion portion, and in the conclusion portion, it is not the summary of the paper, it is just about the findings of your paper. Yeah, so do not summarize the paper. The abstract is for that purpose. Yeah, we have already discussed about the abstract. So do not summarize here your paper. Present what you have shown and what it means for the field. Yeah. Similarly, in this portion, you can write conclusion. Apart from your result, you can also mention the future way of your research. There may be some research gaps you can show here. In future, we can do further. We can carry out experiment for this study also. So indicate whether they are underway, and also avoid bold judgments in conclusion about impact. Yeah, because your result is not going to be generalized. Yeah, for generalization you have to carry out your experiment up to in the multiple times, I think, then you are able to generalize it. Yeah, so avoid bold judgments here. For example, I have included here I'm showing you example of the conclusion from our papers. And I would like to suggest you that it is better to mention your conclusion in a bullet forms rather than a paragraph forms. Here, the following conclusions can be drawn from the results. You can see here the PKW demonstrate the high discharge efficiency at low head. And so I am showing you here. I will not read it line by line. And the last portion is the reference section. So reference section basically consists of whatever the paper you have cited in your previous section, that should be referenced in the last section. Yeah. So, and there are a lot of the reference manager you will find on the website. And there are mainly mainly Zotero, InNotes. These are the reference manager software, and it can help you to manage your reference. There are a lot of reference styles also. Yeah, and for particular journals, they have a different style criteria. So you can find out these styles on the mainly or different softwares, and these softwares are very much helpful to cite to reference and also as citation. For that, you have to first you have to one by one you have to add your papers in that Mendeley or Geotery or in notes. Yeah, Here I have shown you the reference. You can see here the reference, the style of the reference. There are a lot of number of reference styles. Now I would like to summarize what we have discussed, what I've discussed here in the next slides. So first, before beginning the writing of your research paper, sort out the figures, data, photograph, results which we have collected. Then gather all the information relevant to research papers. Then prepare outline of the papers, considering this, these sections. Yeah. After that, start writing each section. Begin the writing of these sections, and then you should note that maintain the sequence with logical flow, and you should be clear that does it require further analysis or not. If it requires the further analysis, then carry out the analysis and add complete analysis, and if not, then move ahead. First draft is complete. You have written all the sections, you have your analysis complete, so first draft is complete. Now check for the proofreading and any plagiarism. I think the plagiarism portion will be explained by the our next speaker, Nariswal. So I will not discuss more about the plagiarism. So you should check. Check for the proofreading. You can send your draft to your seniors, like as your professors. They will proofread any grammatical mistakes, any mistakes are there. They will correct it, and then now your pre-final draft is ready. Now you have to select the journals. You have to select the journals. I think the selection portion will discussed by the next speaker. So I will not cover this portion here. So now we have selected the journals, and based on the journals rules, you have to format your paper. Yeah, you have to format your paper as per the journal requirement. After that, your paper is final. Now you are in your paper is a manuscript. Yeah. Now you should submit your paper. So up to here, I have covered all the portion of the research paper sections. And now I would like to thank you all the members and the organizing committee. And now I would like to pass to the next speaker. Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah, thank you, Rakesh sir. It was a very, very thorough presentation on the entire structuring of a manuscript, right on from the description of authors to introduction, abstract introduction, until the results, and finally to how to format the paper and everything. So, along with that, I see that there are several questions in the chat box by Mr. Ram and Mr. Deepak. So, please stay with us. We will answer your questions in the question and answer session. Uh, Now, moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Khem Prasad Bhattrai. He will be talking about the publication process and further on how the peer review and different journal types are there, right? So, Mr. Kim, you have the floor now, so you can continue.
All right. Thank you, Ravi sir. Can you see my screen?
Yes, if you can switch on the presentation mode, it would be
Yes.
better. Okay.
So now it
Yeah.
should be in presentation mode, right?
Yes, it is perfect. It is perfect.
All right. Thank you, Ravi sir, again. Namaste, good morning, and good evening, everyone. I am delighted to be here today for this presentation. First, I would like to extend my gratitude to IOE Pulcho campus IOE Thapathali campus, and Dynamic Solutions for their valuable contributions for today's seminar. In this seminar, we are exploring the key processes involved in publishing a research article. The part 1 and part 2 have already been presented, and I will be covering part 3, where I will discuss various journal types and article types and the peer review process in academic publishing. So let's get started. The outlines of my presentation today consist of the types of academic journals and articles. Then I will talk about indexing and quartile ranking of journals. Then we will talk about journal article publishing process. And finally, I will present some common pitfalls that needs to be avoided while submitting a manuscript. So discussing about the academic journals types, we have open access journals, subscription-based journals, delayed open access journals, and preprint repositories. In open access journals, the articles are freely accessible to everyone, and the authors or funders are the ones who usually pay the article processing charge, that is called APC. And in these kind of journals have higher research visibility and citation potential. And some examples of open access journals are MDPI, Frontiers, and many more. Next is the subscription-based journals. So in these journals, these are the access requires payment from institution, or it requires institutional subscription. So no APC is paid by authors, but optional open access options may be available. And in these kind of journals, revenue comes from subscriptions by universities and libraries. In these journals, the access for public is limited. Usually only abstracts are available, and to access the full paper, we need to have institutional subscription. And the example of these kind of subscription-based journals are Elsevier, Springer, Wiley, and many others. So the third is the delayed open access journals. In these kind of journals, articles initially remain paywalled for a set period, that is usually 6 to 24 months. So after the embargo time, this 6 to 24 months of time when the article is not open access, and after this period is ended, the content becomes freely available. So this type of journals, they balance the subscription revenue and open access. Some examples are some Oxford, Cambridge, and Elsevier journals. And the fourth one is the preprint repositories. These consist of articles that are uploaded before formal peer review. These are rapid dissemination of research findings. They are free to access and help early stage research visibility. They may undergo revisions before final journal publication. And here I have given some examples of preprint repositories. Next, I will discuss about the academic articles, the types of academic articles. So we have basically three different types of articles. These are peer-reviewed articles, and then partially peer-reviewed articles, and then non-peer reviewed articles. And under peer-reviewed articles, we have several different types of articles that I have listed here. there could be even more than what I have listed here, but these are the common, the more important ones that are usually encountered. So under peer-reviewed articles, first we have the research articles. These are the most important, most widely used types of articles. The originality is the main feature of these articles. It presents new findings, theories, and methodologies. They have a specific structured format. It follows a standard structure, including abstract, introduction, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion. And these are peer-reviewed articles. They are evaluated by experts and ensure quality, accuracy, and credibility. And these research articles are mostly generally evidence-based and rely on data experiment or theoretical analysis using citations to connect with previous research. And the next is the review article. So review article contains a comprehensive overview. It summarizes and synthesizes the existing research. It evaluates strength, weakness, and gaps in the literature. And these are also peer-reviewed articles by experts. And they contain extensive referencing, and usually they have more than 100 citations so that they cover all the past researches and discuss the outputs of those researches. And the next peer-reviewed article is the communication. These are very briefly reports significant new findings, and they are rapid in publication. They focus narrowly, often in a single experiment or concept, and they may present initial findings promoting further investigations. The next peer-reviewed article is technical note, and these kind of articles discusses practical applications, methodologies, or technical advances, and they consist of step-by-step explanation of their procedures, and they address specific technical challenges within the field, and usually they include supplementary materials such as software, code, or dataset. So now talking about partially reviewed, peer-reviewed articles, the first article is the concept paper. So this kind of paper introduces new idea or theory without experimental data. They focus on proposing concepts, raising questions, or outlining future research directions. These kind of papers discuss how the concept can be applied or further developed in research practice. The next is the conference paper. This paper often presents early stage findings before full journal publication. They are typically short and focuses on key results and insights. And these kind of paper are meant for presentation at academic conferences, fostering discussion and feedback. The next one is the proceeding paper. So a proceeding paper is a written version of the conference paper. They may undergo peer review or editorial screening before publishing. So some proceeding papers are extended versions of conference papers. Basically, the conference paper are sometimes extended to make a proceeding paper. So next, in the category of non-peer reviewed articles, the first one is editorial. These papers expresses the views of the journal's editor or guest writer on current issues, trends, or policies. They are typically concise and aim to influence opinions. And these articles do not undergo formal peer review, but is often edited for clarity and coherence. The next non-peer reviewed article is book review, these kind of articles assess the content, its significance and contribution of a book, and they reflect the reviewer's analysis and opinion rather than presenting original research. These provide a concise overview of the book's themes and arguments and the structure. And usually they are published in academic journals, magazines without formal peer review. The next is the essays, and these focuses on logical reasoning, interpretation, and personal reflection. No strict format is structured. It doesn't have a strict format, but it is structured around a central argument. And these can be academic, philosophical, or journalistic depending on the publication. The next is the letter. These are very concise, short format used to quickly share ideas or feedbacks. They may be screened by an editor, but no detailed peer review is performed. And these letters often written in response to a published article, providing support, clarification, or counter arguments. The final non-peer reviewed article is the commentary. These offer insights, critique, or interpretation on a recent research article. They may be reviewed by an editor, but no detailed peer review is done. And these focuses on analysis rather than presenting new results. So next, I'll talk about the indexing and quartile ranking of the journal. First, let's talk about various indexing of journals. Journal indexing refers to the process of including a journal in a recognized database or repository. So indexed journals meet high academic and ethical publishing standards. Inclusion in databases ensures broader leadership and higher citation potential. Indexed journals are considered more reputable and preferred for academic journals. In this way, the process of indexing a journal into a specific database helps us to categorize the importance, the strength of that journal. Here I am showing different indexing database, the field of coverage for each of them, and the quality level that is shown by those databases. So the first is the SCI and SCIE. These are based on science and technology researches, and they are very high. They have very high prestige. The next is the ESCI data indexing database. These are for the emerging research, and they have moderate quality level. The third is EI Compendex, and these usually use engineering and applied sciences, and they are mostly focused in technical works. The next indexing database is Scopus. It is multidisciplinary and it has very broad impact. The next one is PubMed or Medline. These are for medicine and life sciences study, and they are very highly prestigious. And the next one I have shown here is DOAJ. These are open access journals, and they are quality open access journals. So the next part of indexing and quartile ranking of journals is the quartile ranking of the journals. So the calculation of first, every journal has a calculation of its impact factor. The journals are ranked based on citation matrices such as journal impact factor or cite score. Based on these two factors, a rank is provided to each journals. Division into articles. Journal in a specific subject area is sorted in descending order of impact factor and divided into 4 equal groups. These are Q1 to Q2. So The quartile assignment is done as the Q1 is the top 25 highest ranked journals with the most citations. Q2 is mid-high ranking journals with good citation impact. Q3 is moderate impact journals, and Q4 is the bottom 25% with lowest ranked journals with fewer citations. So the source database quartile ranking are provided by indexing databases like Scopus. So this is indexing database like Scopus and Web of Science provide the quartiles of different journals so that we can identify how important, how prestigious that journal is. Next, let's discuss about the journal article publishing process. Previously, we have discussed about how a manuscript is prepared, and now we will just discuss how we will submit the process that we go through while submitting a manuscript to a journal until it is published. So the first part is submission of manuscript. Submission of journal article includes the submission of following materials via the journal's online submission system. So the first thing that we submit is the cover letter to the editor. A cover letter is a brief letter addressed to the journal's editor-in-chief or handling editor. So these are the things that a cover letter includes. It includes a summary of the manuscript's novelty and relevance to the journal's scope, a statement confirming that the manuscript has not been submitted elsewhere or previously published, a declaration of any conflict of interest, a request for specific reviewers if applicable. We can also request the reviewers that we know which is available in some journals and may not be available in other journals. Next, during submission of manuscript, we submit the actual manuscript, the full article including title, abstract, keyword, introduction, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, references, and figures and tables. Next, we submit the figures and tables. Usually, some journals may ask for figures in separate files, and these figures should be of high quality, and this can include charts or tables with appropriate captions. Next, we submit the references of our paper. A complete list of citation formatted according to the journal's style guideline is submitted. The next thing that we submit is the conflict of interest declaration, a statement disclosing any financial or non-financial conflicts of interest related to the manuscript is submitted. Next, an ethical statement indicating that the research complies with ethical standards, particularly when human or animal subjects are involved. Next, we submit the data availability statement if applicable. A description of where and how the data supporting the findings of the research can be assessed. And this submission is varies from journal to journal. Some journals requires this, some does not. So the second step in journal article publishing process is the initial editorial screening. Once our manuscript is submitted, the journal's editorial office conducts a desk review of the manuscript. And this is to check the compliance with the journal's scope and submission guidelines, to check the formatting and language quality, to ensure that all required materials are included, and to check the plagiarism of the manuscript. So plagiarism is that have we copied some contents from a research, or are we generating our own content? So the manuscript should be plagiarism free as far as possible. And the next is the assignment to reviewers. If the manuscript passes the initial screening from the editor then assigns 2 to 4 reviewers based on their expertise of the topic of the manuscript. Reviewers are assessed the manuscript for originality, methodological rigor, and clarity. They check the relevance and significance of the research, and they also do check the quality analysis and interpretation of the results. Next is the peer review evaluation. Reviewers then evaluate the manuscript and provide feedback with one of the following recommendations. They either accept the paper as it is, or they request minor or major revisions for acceptance before accepting the paper, or they will reject the paper in the current status. The reviewer's report often includes specific suggestions, concerns, and queries for the authors to address. So the next step is the decision by editor. So based on the reviewer's comments, the editor makes the final decision, which is either to accept the paper, to revise and resubmit the paper, or to reject the paper. The next step is the revision and resubmission. If revisions are requested by the editor and the reviewers, the authors revise the manuscript accordingly. The authors prepare a point-by-point response to reviewers' comments, detailing the changes made or explaining why certain changes were not incorporated. The authors then resubmit the corrected manuscript along with the revised files and response letter. A revised manuscript may undergo further rounds of peer review, but usually that doesn't happen. The next step is the final decision and acceptance. If the revisions are satisfactory to the editors and reviewers, the manuscript is accepted for publication. The editor issues an acceptance letter to the authors. And the final step is the proofs and publication. Once accepted, the manuscript enters the publication phase, and this includes copy editing, which ensure the manuscript follows the journal's writing style and guidelines, and typesetting, which formats the article for publication, the proofreading, where the authors review the final proofs to check for any remaining errors, and then the online publication. The article is published online as an early access or in the next issue of the journal. So finally, I'll describe the different types of peer review that are usually conducted. We have 3 different types of peer review from the experts. The first is single blind review. In this kind of review, the reviewers know the identity of the authors, but the authors do not know the identity of the reviewers. The next is double blind review. In this kind of reviews, both the authors and reviewers remain anonymous to each other. And the third one is open peer review. In this type of review, both authors and reviewers are aware of each other's identities, they know each other, and sometimes reviewers' comments are published alongside the articles. Finally, here I am discussing some pitfalls to avoid for successful acceptance and publication of your manuscript. So, selecting the wrong journals, we need to avoid that. We have to carefully select our journal which is based on the scope of the study that is done in our research article. The poor manuscript formatting also leads to rejection. weak abstract, and introduction. We need to avoid that. We should not overlook plagiarism and ethical issues. Failure to address reviewers' comments. If the reviewers' comments are not properly addressed, then this may lead to rejection. Inconsistent or incomplete references. Not understanding the peer review process. If we don't understand the peer review process, then we may not be able to submit the manuscript addressing the reviewer's comments. And submitting multiple versions of the same manuscript. If we submit the same manuscript in different journals at the same times, then our manuscript is rejected. Ignoring the importance of the cover letter. The cover letter has to be thoroughly written. And rushing the process. If we rush for the publishing process and if we not give enough time to thoroughly prepare our documents, then we may have to face rejection. So thank you all. That's all from my side. Raviji.
Thank you, Khem sir. It was a very nice presentation in which I hope our viewers have got information about the entire publishing process from selecting the journal to the entire review process and finally how to get successfully published. Now, uh, coming to our next speaker, he will be Mr. Naresh Swal. He will be discussing about the challenges in the publication process. Uh, okay, so the floor is yours, Naresh sir.
Namaste, good morning, good evening, maybe good night in Nepal. Sorry for delay our webinar. So today I will be briefly discussing about the challenges in the publication process that may be useful for early career researcher. So from idea to manuscript up to the acceptance, and after acceptance, we might have some challenges that I will discuss here today. So the first challenge is idea to manuscript, and that idea conversion into tangible research output. So if we have some idea in our mind, that might be difficult to convert it into tangible research output if we work alone. So for that, we can make some collaborative group approach, and we can create a group of same minded people and same research area people, and have a continuous meeting and continuous discussion. After that, we can have some research output. So I would like to highlight some good researcher habit. If you have a paper under review, and if you are writing a paper, and if you have a paper in mind, then we can say you are a good researcher. So about writing and plagiarism. So writing can be challenging for all non-native writer. Even I have faced lots of challenges when I write a paper. So at the time, I just consider a key paper from high quality journals, and I use those paper as a template, and I write according to that templates. And for that, we can also use some English editing tools such as Grammarly to enhance your writing. Nowadays, we have lots of AI tools such as ChatGPT, and also we have now DeepSeek. So you can use that kind of tools to edit your English, but you must consider that the final touch should be given by yourself so that it looks like human written. And before submission, you need to check similarities and ensure that all original research is properly cited. So for plagiarism detection, we can use Authenticate software to generate similarity reports, and you must maintain a similarity index below 15%, excluding the references, abstract, and methods and methodology. So this is the paid version. If you need to check from Authenticate, you can contact me. I can help to check similarity report for you all. So next one is the major challenge is to decide which journal you will submit your manuscript. So if you have installed EndNote, you can find in Word, you can see manuscript measure, and you can paste your title and you can paste your abstract. After that, it will give you some journal suggestion, such as you can see here, journal name, science of the total environment, frontiers in microbiology, environmental research, where you can see the journal impact factor, current and last 5 year, and the mass score and the similar article. Here we can see there is a 0 similar articles. And also you can see the quartile in category Q1, Q2, or the rank in the category. So in this way, if you paste your title and the abstract, the EndNote will give you some suggestion where you can submit your manuscript. So another way is to find journal from the Elsevier. You can see, you can paste your abstract here, and you can also find some journal suggestion here. For example, you can see here, Journal of Hospital Infection, Journal of Environmental Management. Here you can also see the impact factor, site score, time to first decision, so, and time to acceptance. And it is like open access or closed access. If it is open access, how much you have to pay the money. Here you can see $4,000. So in this way, you can decide what is the right journal for you. So that one is for collaborative research. So if you are a PhD and master student, most of the time, advisor will decide the journal. So you just follow their guidance. And to decide a suitable journal, you have to ask yourself, is there any novelty in the research? Is the study is global or it covers large area? So if the study is novel and it covers large area, then you can go for high impact journals. Even you can go for Q1 journals. So, and before submission, you have to check the journal details as discussed by the Kim, like index and impact factor, quartile in category. And journal might be subscription-based, open, and hybrid type journal. Subscription-based generally take a lot of time in compared to open. So if you have enough funding for article processing charge, you can go for open journal. So I personally recommend to go for hybrid types journal, because in hybrid type journals, you can publish your paper in subscription base, but the peer reviewing process is quite fast than the subscription base. So if you have fund, you can go for open access, but if you don't have fund, you can also go for subscription in hybrid type journal. The other major topic is we must be aware of predatory journals. In case if you publish in that kind of journal, you have to retract it as soon as possible. And how to protect from the predatory journals? You have to check the trusted checklist, such as predatory journals. You can find that journal in this website, and you have to cross-check a journal presence in the directory of open access journal or database like Scopus. And you have to confirm that listed editor are real scholar with expertise in that field. So you can find the editor as editor-in-chief in the website. So you have to check that editor is expert in that field or not. And if that journal give you guarantee, rapid publication guarantee, then that is the major red flag for predatory journals. So then next step is the submission process. So you have to follow author guidelines strictly to format the manuscript, like figure, table, equation, abstract, word count. Here I have shown one journal, more in environmental research. Here we can see guide for the authors. You have to read all those guidelines when you prepare a manuscript. And we can also find journals that also accept manuscript as it is. So you can submit in a Word file or you can submit in LaTeX. But after only acceptance, they will ask you to change the manuscript in the journal format. So that may be the easy for initial submission, but it's depend on you which one you want to follow. And some authors may struggle with reference style. So initially we can use reference manager to like Mendeley, Zotero, EndNotes. Mendeley and Zotero is a free version, so you can go for that one. But all of the journal has their own respective different reference style. We have to edit anyway in the submission process. And you have to download the target journal paper and arrange reference according to them. So the second one is the cover letter. So you have to highlight which aim and scope match with your manuscript, and you have to highlight the novelty of the manuscript so that reading cover letter, the editor can be convinced with your manuscript. So sometimes a journal asks you to give 3 to 5 bullet highlights points. You have to write what are the novelty of your study in these highlight points. And sometimes they also ask to submit graphical abstract. You have to prepare one attractive graphical abstract, and the corresponding author must be very active to see the email response sent by the editor. So this is the tentative timeline for review process. So submission received, then they will check technical part of the manuscript. Like it takes like one week. Then they will assign the editor. After technical check pass, then after editor assigned, they will send the invitation to the reviewer. So after reviewer accept manuscript, they will send you the review reports. So usually 2 to 3 unpaid reviewers will be invited. Mostly they are professor, but nowadays we can say even PhD student are also a reviewer. So usually it takes time from 3 weeks to 6 months, or maybe more than that, even 1 year. So reviews can be brutal. So academic are trained to pick at the flows. So these are the generally decision we get from the reviewer, like accept without revision. This is very rare. Accept with minor revision, that we may be lucky if we get this one. And reject major revision required. This is the most common we get from the reviewer. And reject not suitable for publication. So this is the worst case we can expect, and recommend for a different journal. Maybe aim and scope of that journal doesn't match with our manuscript, and recommend for a different format. Maybe we submit for research article, and that is suitable for technical note, and nominate for an award. So that is the best thing we can expect. So challenges to address major revision. So if the reviewer comment to revisit methodology and data analysis, that may be the major revisions that require additional experiment, reanalysis of data, even adopting new methodology, which can be both time consuming and technically challenges. So if we get that kind of comments, we can discuss with the team member, is it feasible or not to address the comments? If that is not feasible for the current manuscript, we can recommend those in future studies in a polite way. And technical and formatting challenges, maybe the minor revisions. Most of the time, every manuscript get this kind of comment, like to update the figure, table, and other graphical content. So I would like to request all to keep original file such as code used to create figure, GIS files, and other materials, so that you won't need to start from scratch when making edits. So from my experience also, I have that kind of difficulty. So paper, I created code and GIS file, and I forget where I put that files, and I could not find those files when I try to edit the figure. So at that time, I need to work from the very beginning. So it takes a lot of time. So keep all those original file in a safe place. So after addressing those comments, you have to clearly document and justify the revision in your response letter, which is very crucial for convincing the reviewer and editors. And we have to prepare point by point response that reference specific comments and explain how each has been addressed and why certain suggestions were not implemented. So all the suggestions and comments cannot be addressed. So we need to give point by point response why we cannot address those comments in a very polite way. So handling rejection. So rejection is redirection. So most of the high impact journal rejection rate is very high, 80 to 90% rejection rate. So no need to panic. You have to find novelty and highlight those in your manuscript. So you get some comments from the reviewer and the editor. You have to take that comments as a reference to improve your manuscript, and you can submit in a better fit journal. So I have shown here graph scatter plot. If the impact factor is high, 10, like 10, 1, you can see the rejection rate is very high. After acceptance, the editor will send you to proofread your manuscript. So this is the most important and the most laziest part. So you will be in that stage that you don't want to read your own paper at that time. So, and we need to read that paper at that time very seriously. So you need to proofread your papers. There might be some typo errors like spelling mistake and the like some numerical mistyping. So you have to be very careful in this stage. So after you proofread, that manuscript will publish as it is. So you must be very careful in this stage and check reference thoroughly. Even though you use your some reference manager, there is always at least one missing or one additional reference. So you have to see all the difference thoroughly, and you have to check the quality of the figure. So most of the journal require at least 300 dpi figure or even higher. So it's depend on journal requirement. And if you have some supplementary materials, it will be published as it is. So you have to be more grammatically correct. So take care of these supplementary materials. It will be published as it is. So you have to write it correctly. There will be no any peer review on supplementary materials. So you should be careful about supplementary materials. And after acceptance and the publication, you should share your work in ResearchGate, LinkedIn, so that you can get broader audience and you can get proper citation from the academic society. So these are the key takeaway. Publication is long process and you need patience, and challenges are the part of the journey, and every submission teach something new, and your works matter. So keep contributing to the academic society. And I would like to welcome you all speakers and the audience to share and discuss what has been your biggest challenge when submitting a paper, and do you have any strategies to overcome publication delay. Thank you. This is from my side.
Thank you, Naresh sir. It was a wonderful presentation. So I hope from your experience of publishing and what you have shared about the entire process, I hope the uh, all our viewers might have gained some insight into the entire publication process. Especially I have learned a lot from your presentation. So without any delay, I would like to move on to our question answer session. So for that, I would request all the speakers to please join me on the floor to switch on their camera and audio, the mics, please. Naresh sir, Rakesh sir, Khem sir,
Yeah.
and Ishwar sir, please. So, okay, Naresh sir is still not there. So, okay.
Yes, I am
Anyway,
here, sir.
okay. So now we'll start with our first question, which is from Mr. Ram. So he's asking the question that is like if someone doing research work on flood for Kathmandu Valley after writing about flood as global phenomenon, after that writing about Nepal, and after that for Kathmandu Valley with past flood statistics data, is it the right approach? So this he's asking mostly, I think, about the introduction portion. Uh, so I think Rakesh sir, would you be interested in answering this question?
Can you
Uh,
repeat the question once more?
uh, the question is like he wants to.
Hello, Ravi.
Yes, yes, yes.
Am I
So
audible?
what? Yes, you are audible. So what he is
Hello.
asking is, yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Can you repeat once
Okay.
more the question?
Okay, so the question is basically what he's asking is he's trying to write the research paper, and in the introduction portion, he's asking is like he wants to write about Kathmandu Valley, flood in Kathmandu Valley, and
Yeah.
he is asking is writing about flood as a global phenomenon firstly, and then moving on to in the context of Nepal, and
Yeah.
finally the Kathmandu Valley with
Yeah.
statistics and data. So is
Yeah.
it the right approach?
Yeah. It is absolutely it is the right approach. First, we have to discuss globally. Then we have to narrow down our research of study of the particular area of study. So I think it is the right approach, and it is the I think the most common approach which everyone really does. I think Ishwar Joshi will I think will add something more on this part.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think like it also depends upon the perspective on like are you doing a global study or are you doing like a doing study on national scale or are you doing a regional scale? So I can give like some examples like uh, some papers.
Just a minute. I
Yeah.
believe the question is in the question he has written that he's doing the study for flood research work on flood for Kathmandu Valley. So he's specific about the Kathmandu Valley.
Okay. Yeah. If like it goes like if you can highlight um like something about like global perspective in a very short sentence, like one or two, then go more into Nepal, like how different climatic classification impacts flood in Nepal, like two to three to four lines. Then you can switch to Kathmandu Valley.
Okay.
I think then that in that direction you can go that. Yeah, but if you are only studying about Kathmandu Valley, you cannot like talk more like three to four or 4 to 5 sentences about global perspective or enlarge more on Nepalese perspective. Yeah, I think it depends. Like maybe 60 to 70% is on Kathmandu Valley, 20 to 30 on Nepal, and like 10% is on global. Will be good. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you. I hope that would help Mr. Ram. So next question is from Mr. Deepak Yadav, and he's asking, mostly I think it is about literature review process. How can I effectively tackle the technical aspects of 50 to 60 research papers, especially when new technical terms continuously lead to other unfamiliar terms, creating a loop of concepts? So, Iswar sir, it is from, I think, literature review portion. So I think you could answer this.
Yeah, that's a nice question. Yeah, I really appreciate that you asked this, and these are the challenges we get like when uh, reading literature. So that's why I talked about like emphasizing on the authors first. So if you like there are like me like for example, if you want to study flood or something like that, there are like hundreds and thousands of papers. So sometime like the technical term may also depend on from which country like uh, the research article is written, and sometimes like researchers they also try to follow or have some new technical terms by their own. Okay, so like recently I had a challenge with my supervisor. She didn't understand what do we mean by flood hazard, and that we had kind of discussion for 10 minutes with that. So flood hazard is it means just flood inundation extent and depth. So she didn't understand flood hazard, but my supervisor was okay with that term, flood hazard. Okay. So but the best thing is to do is to search for more and more authors who are good in that field. For example, if in flood, so we have like two to five top researchers in that. So we have to go in that perspective. So what happens, you if you go on that perspective and find the authors and read their papers, they so one thing about review paper is also they also describe technical terms in a very good way. Okay, that's why should go to the authors, then read their review papers, and then understand more on the technical terms. They really define technical terms by pinpointing that. Okay, so that's the approach I think I have followed, and it may be useful. Yeah. Wait.
Thank you, Yusuf sir. Okay, coming to the next question. Uh, it's from Mr. Ram again. While writing the manuscript, we also have to import equations, tabular format results. Should we make such things just by doing with MS Word, or there is some other tool or technique? So this is from the structure of the paper. Okay, and how to. So Rakesh, sir, would you like to add something to this?
Yes. I think it's very nice question. I think most of those who are new get sometimes confused. Yeah, you can write. You can do prepare tables in the using Excel or MS or Words, but you should have to mention the authors. Whatever you're writing your equation of different authors, you have to cite them in the papers, so that it will not create any problems. Or I think there may be other softwares, but we are generally using MS Word and Excel for the table preparation.
So in that
Okay,
case, I can add
thank
one
you.
more
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
So in
Narissa.
equation part, I use sometime math type software. So that is also the paid one, but we can use for like 30 days free trial. So that one is the good software math type to write the equation in the manuscript.
So I hope he's, and I'll add to that. In fact, you can also, like, as an alternative to preparing your manuscript in MS Word, if you are comfortable, you can also use LaTeX, which provides also a way to prepare your manuscript. And it is nowadays very common that people are using LaTeX, and it also provides higher quality table and equations, and it is easier than, I think, Word to play with the formatting in LaTeX. Anyway, moving on to your next question. Like, if someone doing the research work with machine learning approach, in such case, is it mandatory to show the tabular format results like accuracy score with Python tool like sorry, or Seaborn, or will it be okay to do such things with MS Word? So, uh, Rakesh sir, what you have to say on this?
I think Matplotlib is a very much effective for to presenting some type of results. And I think you can also add something on this, Nariswal, as if there are so many
So
softwares.
yeah, there are so many software. The thing you ask is it mandatory to show the tabular format result? So it's depend on how you show your result. If you want to show how much the model is accurate, showing the accuracy score, you have to show the accuracy score. But again, it's depend on what you want to show your result. So you must present your result so that you can understand all the readers. So it's depend on you what you want to show, and it's better to show result in a proper way.
Yes. So at the end, your results make the foundation of your paper. So you should present your result in the best way possible. So you have to find out on your own that what is the best way possible, how concisely you can make your results visible and easily readable to the readers. So you have to decide on it, and you can use anything from simply MS Word to any other software, but the whole point is your presentation of the result should be good, right? Now, coming to another question, uh, how to plot methodology flowchart is there any specific software or tool to prepare such things? Uh, Anyone would like to take this question?
I
Yeah,
would like to,
most
yeah,
of the time I use PowerPoint to make
Okay.
a flowchart, but there is also another software called Visio in Microsoft 365. So you can also use that software to create a flowchart. So
yeah,
Rakesh sir, you can add some more.
yeah. I would like to add something that I am using InkSpace for preparation of flowchart. You can vary the DPI as per requirement of the journals. So, and also there are lots of things you can add in the with the help of InkSpace. So it is better to use InkSpace. I think the PowerPoint is very much easy, which you can easily adapt it. But InkSpace you have to learn. I think it is very much helpful for preparing the flowchart also.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So the one advantage with the Inkspace is it is freeware, and furthermore, you get the control over the quality of the image you are producing and the size. So as I think Naresh sir previously already stated that every journal has their own specific requirement for image quality and these kind of things. So to control these things, you can use tools like Inkspace, and plus it is freeware. So, okay. So coming to the next question, if I have used various input data like DEM, elevation, aspect for my research work, do all these maps should be arranged in a single image? If yes, how can one do that? So, Rakesh sir, please.
I think we published one paper. I think on groundwater prioritization. In that, the it's a summary. I think we have summarized all the maps in a single map. I think using GIS. I think Naresh sir has a good experience of this. So Naresh sir will.
Yeah. So again, it's depend on how you saw the result. Sometimes the quality of the image may be decreased if you combine all those in a one figure. So I prefer to put in like two or three in a one figure. Like in that way, you can present all the figure, not whole in a one figure. Like two, three, or four, even four, you can put in a single figure. Then again, next four in a single figure. In this way, you can arrange lots of figure. So you have to check if the quality is maintained or not. So if quality decrease, then you can again go for two figure, or if again quality is decreased, you can just put like one figure. So you have to see how the quality of the figure is changing when you add those all figures in a one place.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Coming to the next question, it is by Rosan Bist. So he's asking, currently I am in third year of my engineering degree and I have no idea about how to start and prerequisite for research on a particular topic and how to find a topic for research suited for myself. So Isur sir is asking more about conceptualization of research. So would you like to take this question?
Oh, yeah, that's a nice question, and I think that yeah, the research direction is really important. I would like to like suggest first what your interests are. So that's the most important thing. And then if you do not have like clear interest in the research direction, I think I like to suggest you to go to your mentor or supervisor to ask about like in which direction I should pursue my research. I think that is very very important initially, and sometimes like it could happen that supervisor has a one topic and then you have to completely go on there then that direction and works that go on that direction and to work, and that could be challenging, but it's like your interest base in which interest in which direction you want to go. If you see like the differences between that what I like when I was a student at undergrad in Nepal and what we have here in the United States is in Nepal, like generally we are not kind of directed very well in research and even in like job in our like second year, third year, or fourth year. But here in United States, we are like they are very like given very strong research direction even at like third year and fourth year and by their like supervisors or mentors or like that. So I think it's important like in which direction you want to go, and like I think you should ask your supervisor, and then you should follow or at least try to like say like whatever I showed in in my first slides, that my perspective, then you should follow that. That's what I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I would
sir.
like to, Ravi, I would like to something more because
Yes,
I have a
yes.
experience of regarding, because I have taught in the Thadali campus, and most of the, bachelor students used to, they tell me regarding the, sir, can you guide me regarding how to write the papers regarding research? And I have suggested them few topics, and what I have found that they are not constantly focused on their that parts because they have a limited time, and they have an exam also running parallelly, exam, class, everything. So, and also I think the research needs lots of patience. You will not get your output, your research paper ready in a 1 month. It will take times. You have to start from the literature review portion, then you have to start the research. Yeah, so you need to have a long patience. And regarding finding the research gap, I think you should have to first connect with your get connect with your professor or your faculty members. I think he will probably help you in guiding your research. I think, yeah, it's the best way to start through your some seniors, I think. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Rakesh sir, for adding to that. Now, coming to the next question. Is there any AI tool to check about plagiarism, like Turnitin, but is paid? So, any free tool. How to ensure that our manuscript is free from flag? Okay. So, this question, I think Naresh sir, he had mentioned something about this, some kind of tool in his presentation. So,
Uh,
Naresh sir,
as
yeah.
the audience said, most of the software are paid version, but usually when I don't have access to the paid version, I use Grammarly and I paste paragraph by paragraph. It doesn't allow you to put whole manuscript in the Grammarly, so you have to paste every separate paragraph and check if there is any plagiarism or not. So for that case, I can help you. Whoever wants to check the plagiarism, I can do for them in Authenticate. So please send me email if you need help for that case. So the free one is the Grammarly, of course, but it doesn't allow you to submit whole paper, but you have to work like continuous work, like you have to paste your paragraph each and every time and see where is the similar paragraph or similar line in your manuscript. So if anybody know free software, please let me know too.
So, moving
Yeah,
to
I can
the
add to
next.
that a lot if you like find it okay. Is that okay?
Yes, please, please, please.
Yeah, I think like recent, I think you guys use ChatGPT or not. I think you can get some a lot of idea on that in plagiarism. I think if you enter like it's just like I haven't used that, but I think you can do that because if you send a paper to ChatGPT and that's how much part is plagiarized, so I think
So
you'll be able to
I
get that.
I want to give some contradictory opinion on Joshi sir.
Uh-huh.
Like I strongly recommend not to upload your manuscript in ChatGPT. So
It is reading your.
Yeah. So the ChatGPT will get your data, and so it may be difficult for you in your publication process. So it's not a. I think, in my opinion, it's not a good idea to give your unpublished work in a ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the good. ChatGPT is the big thing, but for that case, I have like different opinion rather
Okay,
than.
that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it
like
is
there is
always
like
better to be
existing.
cautious of
Okay.
these upcoming AI tools because you never know which of your data are being taken. And maybe once your data is available on these softwares, so it would, when you go for Turnitin, it don't only check the plagiarism. Now it also checks for the AI content.
Yeah.
So once you have uploaded something on the AI, it would maybe later on show as an AI content on Turnitin. So this might also create issue with the publication process. So
So for
we
that
should be
case,
cautious. We should
yeah.
definitely use ChatGPT or Gemini or DeepSeek, but we should be really cautious so that we do not, reach a position where we cannot get our data published because it is now AI content or something like that. Okay.
So for
So
that case, I would like to recommend like to contact somebody who is studying in abroad, like US, Australia. They may have access to that kind of paid version, like IT ticket. So you can just request them to see your paper has some similarity or not. But most of the time, I did like that when I was in Nepal. So I also want to recommend that suggestion to you all.
thank you, and that would be really helpful. Um, okay. Coming to another question, is there any free international journal having open access? So it has been answered already by Naresh sir, but I'd request Khem sir to add on to this. Is there any free international journal having open access?
Yes. Uh, Usually, the free journals are mostly subscription based, and there are a few international open access journals, and it depends on the field of your study. You have to find the correct journal that matches your area of study. So in my case, I have published in Water SA journal. This is uh, a, a free open access journal, and it is mostly for water related research. And for other different areas, you have to look for those open access journals on internet. If you search, you can definitely find a few journals that are open access. And this water assay journal that I used, it was a Q2 journal.
Yeah. Thank you.
So in
So
that case,
I'd like
I
to
would like
add to
to,
that is,
yeah,
yeah,
sure, Ravi, sir,
okay,
you can
sir.
add some.
Okay. So there are lots of open access journal which might not be free for everyone, but the APC, the processing charges in cases of like low income countries, in which mostly countries like Nepal or most of South Asian countries, they are low income countries. So in case of low income countries, these author processing charges are waived off. So even though the journal might not be completely free for everyone, the open access journal, but there might be a case that it might be waived off for your particular case. So you should also check on that. Is the APC waived off for you, or are you eligible for the waiver or not? So based on that, you can also decide. Naresh sir, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, yeah, the same thing I would like to add. Like
Okay.
based on corresponding author country, there are lots of open access journal that we don't need to pay APC. Even like high quality journal, like even for hydrology, like Journal of Hydrology Regional Studies, we just not need to pay like 20% or 10%. So there are lots of high impact journal, but the corresponding author must be in those low income country like Nepal, India, Bangladesh, like Pakistan. So if you are residing in those country, you can have free chance of publishing in those journal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Naresh sir. Now, moving on to the next question. It is very technical question, right? How to do model validations? Like if someone has prepared the results, like if I am doing the research work on flood susceptibility map using data-driven approach. In such case, how can I validate my model? Or doing validation with accuracy score, AUC, ROC value will be okay. So probably this is very technical, and I believe Iswar sir is working with floods.
So like by some disturb me, can you like repeat once again the question? Sorry for that.
Okay. So the question is how to do model validations. Like if someone has prepared the results, for example, the writer is working on research work on flood susceptibility map using data-driven approach. In such case, how can I validate my model or doing validation with accuracy score, AUC, ROC value will be okay.
Oh, that's a tough question, I'll say, and with
I,
very
I
technical,
think
I'll say at this
I think
stage.
Naresh sir will add on AUC ROC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't used that term like susceptibility for my modeling, but I have seen like for validating those like models, like they use kind of critical success index, something like that. So, but I think I have to like dig more into literature on that. Like I can provide reference on that for sure, and I know in which journal it has been used. So that critical success index, it kind of uh, rewards the if thing matches, and then it also penalizes if thing don't matches, and it calculates on that CSI values. But at this stage, maybe I'm not able to give very concrete answers on that. Yeah, sorry for that. You
Thank
can write like an email to me or any or members, and we can discuss more on that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Like if you have any further questions, you can directly mail to us on our email that from which you have received the invitation link as well. So you can email us on that, and then we will try to also take the question over there.
I think
So anyone
Naresh,
else would like to take
Ravi,
on this question?
Ravi, I think Naresh sir will add something on AUC
Question
ROC
like
efforts.
is I didn't see the question. Where is that question? Or can you repeat once more the question?
The question is how to do
Yeah.
model validations. If if someone has prepared the results,
Mm.
I am doing the research work on flood susceptibility map using data driven approach. In such case, how can I validate my model? Or doing validation with accuracy score such as AUC, ROC value will be okay.
Yeah, like most of the research paper use AUC ROC curve to see how much the model is correct. Like generally the score should be greater than 0.7 or 0.75 or even more. That will be good. So I think that is okay to show your validation report. We have also used that score before to validate groundwater mapping. So I think we are also trying to map the what I forget like the
Yeah, groundwork, yeah, and flood susceptibility mapping.
flood susceptibility. So most of the time, paper I have also seen those kind of paper use AEC curve. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Uh, Coming to Lakshman Kafle, he has few suggestions and questions for us, the organizers. So the first is research ethics is a crucial topic that requires serious training for researchers, both in Nepal and our part of the world, especially. Please plan some sessions on this in the future. So thank you for this suggestion. It is really very important. Next is research takes a lot of time and resources. It would be helpful if you could guide us to resources like where to find quality research papers, tools for data analysis and literature management platform. Okay, thank you, Lakshman. Your second suggestion is also very crucial. The third suggestion is, could IHR create a peer support network where new researchers can be paired with experienced ones for guidance? In my opinion, it's hard to fully understand the research process by attending webinars alone. It requires hands-on experience and constant guidance. And the fourth one is, the talk was too long. It's better to keep webinar under 1.5 hours. Okay, so probably Lakshman, I believe you were bored. So yeah, and thank you for the suggestion. You have some very wonderful suggestion for us. If there is too much content to cover in one session, please consider splitting it into series. Okay, thank you. I will definitely take note of your suggestions. All of these are very important ones, I believe. So first, let me take the note of your suggestions. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Is there an e-certificate after this webinar? So,
I think
so
this one is
this,
mostly from the bachelor students.
yeah,
So I think our director will decide it. If you are
yeah,
interested, then we will also provide this e-certificate. I think, yeah.
yeah. So actually, this is not still decided because
Yeah.
this was more of a knowledge sharing event. But uh, as there is a request for e-certificate, so we will really think about it and we'll try to arrange this for the participants. Could you please advise on the appropriate length? Okay. Could you please advise on the appropriate length for a research paper? We have a substantial amount of data, and I am unsure how much of it should be included in the paper. What are the key considerations for determining what to include and what to leave out? So, Rakesh sir, please. Uh,
Can you please once repeat
okay.
more? Because
Could you please advise on the appropriate length for a research paper?
I think
We,
most of the job,
like
yeah,
the he has Mr. Deepak has substantial amount of data. Now he's confused what he should include in the paper and what he should leave out, and so therefore he wants to know what is
yeah,
the good length for a paper.
yeah. I think suppose you have done your thesis works, and your thesis may have 2 to 3 objectives, and the journal paper requirement is that its length should not, exceed 7 to 8,000 of words. Yeah, word limit. Yeah. So you can split your thesis into two, 1 to 2 papers. I think in one paper you will not be able to cover all the objectives. Yeah, address all the objectives. So it is better to go to arrange it in 2 papers or 3 papers as per journal length requirements. So I would like to suggest you to go through the journal's requirement and then proceed as what is your objective and how much you are trying to cover that objective in your papers. And it is, if it is not possible possible in a single paper, then you have to go through the another papers. I think you have to prepare a second paper also.
Okay. So thank you so much. I think all other questions are already answered, and
I think
okay.
we
So
can
there
like
is,
we can
yeah.
send like the answer of the question with the like link of the video later. Because
Okay.
if there is still more question, it's getting long.
Yes. So I think most of the questions have already been answered, and there is one interesting question which I'll just put over there. And I have my master's thesis. How do I turn it into research paper? Since I have signed a copyright agreement while submitting my thesis in my university, does it infringes copyright claims while publishing research paper? So, Khem sir, if you could take this question.
Yes, that's a good question. Uh, Usually, it is a good practice that you publish your master's thesis work, and in PhD, you have to publish many papers. So, I would say, even though in the university you have submitted the copyright agreement, but publishing in peer-reviewed journals, it should not infringe the copyright claims. It is very general that people publish their master's work, but sometimes if the data that you have used are very crucial, if you cannot disclose your data, if such a condition is there in your case, then maybe you are restricted, but in general you should be able to publish.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I
So
can
that was
add
the
to
last
that
question.
a little. Yeah, if it's okay.
Okay, yeah, please,
Yeah,
please,
you
Isu
can
sir.
do that for sure, but you always have to acknowledge the funder. That's very important, and you should be, I think, always be in close connection with the institution where you signed like copyright agreement. So it's beneficial. Sorry for that. Yeah, that much I'll say. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh.
Okay, thank you, Isu sir. And with this, I think we have reached the end of our webinar, right? So if there are any further unanswered questions, if you want to get in contact with us, or if there are any guidance you require, you can always email us at our email, uh, or you can also visit our website at iihr.org.np, right? And thank you so much for attending this amazing webinar. I would like to thank all our speakers who have provided insightful thoughts from right from conceptualization to dissemination of the research work.